A purple magic circle suddenly appeared in the quiet classroom. As ordinary students, we had no time to react, before being swept into a soul passage. A golden-haired goddess in the sky then explained, "This place exists as a gap between worlds, a space typically used to summon heroes from other realms to defeat the Demon King." Without even giving us a moment to discuss things among ourselves, after the goddess bestowed her gifts upon us, we were transported to the kingdom of Hagen in another world. King Regian welcomed our arrival, and led his ministers in kneeling on one knee. "Please, you must defeat the Demon King." At this point, one timid student quickly stepped forward to ask, "Excuse me, will we be able to return to our original world?" The Saint Ishia explained that they could go back, but only on the night of the full moon, 1 month from now. So those with no intention of fighting the Demon King could simply return after that month. Having read every kind of manga imaginable, I couldn't help but think, a free trip to another world doesn't sound half bad. The Saint then added that even if everyone chose to leave, she wouldn't stop them, but still sincerely begged everyone to save this world. Just then I noticed a golden magic circle appear beneath my feet, similar to the one back in the classroom. Just as I assumed this was some kind of magic unique to the kingdom of Hagen, I was horrified to realize the circle was only beneath my feet, mine alone. The next second, I was back in the soul passage. "Long time no see, goddess. It's only been about 10 minutes. Even the goddess looked confused. "Didn't you just come through here? So you're actually being summoned for a second time?" "Well, rules are rules. I still have to give you a gift. I'm not sure what's going on, but good luck out there." When I opened my eyes again, I found myself tied to a chair, bound hand and foot. The mad scientist before me seemed to have mistaken me for a test subject. The two lunatics were waving their arms around, ranting about magic eyes and such. With that, they picked up a pair of iron tongs and moved toward me. It turned out that people summoned to this world typically possessed magic eyes. To further examine the magic eyes I had, the bald old creep immediately prepared to hypnotize me, but the advanced hypnosis had absolutely no effect on me. After closer observation, they discovered I had heterochromia, two magic eyes with different attributes. The two of them grew even more frenzied at this, and were ready to skip the hypnosis entirely and tear me apart piece by piece. Just as I thought it was over for me, a green magic circle appeared on the floor, and once again I found myself face to face with a familiar goddess. I couldn't help but ask if she had any idea what was happening. The goddess calmly explained this had never happened before, so she couldn't say for sure, but she'd look into it. The next place I was summoned to featured a beautiful young noblewoman. Seeing that her mistress had successfully summoned me, the elven teacher beside her couldn't stop praising her. Mistaken for a summoned monster, I nearly had a contract forcibly bound to me. A red magic circle appeared, and I was back in the soul passage once more. I was already getting used to this routine. The goddess was at a loss, but she explained she had a rough idea of the situation. Summoning, she said, tends to select people with particularly strong souls. This has nothing to do with character. Because a soul must cross between worlds, it needs to be extraordinarily powerful. And you happen to possess an exceptionally rare, ultra-powerful soul. If your soul were fixed to a particular world through some kind of contract, then this probably wouldn't keep happening. The fourth time, I was summoned by a white-haired girl, and in doing so gained the plunder skill. But just as I was about to form a contract with her, the magic circle appeared again. There wasn't enough time. The fifth time, I was summoned through dark magic, and so gained skills related to dark magic as well. The sixth time, I was summoned by a monster in a deep, shadowy castle. This time, I became the Demon King. Though the endless summonings hadn't stopped, I had accumulated quite a number of abilities. The goddess said the next one should be the final summoning. So take some time to consolidate your abilities. Just look with your right eye and you'll understand. The final summoning, the seventh, brought me to a castle. Unlike before, there were several other summoned individuals present. 3 high school students, Ryuto, Tamaki, and Aoi. The king, watching this unfold from above, was somewhat confused. Legend said there should be 3 heroes, so why are there 4 this time? Seeing that the other 3 clearly knew each other, I immediately realized I had been accidentally caught up in someone else's summoning. After hearing my explanation, the king understood everything. "So, those 3 over there are the summoned heroes and you're just an ordinary person who got swept up in it? I've never heard of anyone being accidentally caught up in a summoning before." At that moment, the crown princess stepped forward. "So you're the heroes, are you? It was I, the princess herself, who summoned you. You should be thanking me." I took this in stride. This kind of arrogant princess is practically a rite of passage for anyone transported to another world. This is our kingdom, the kingdom of Raijinkuzen. In this world, besides humans, there are demi-humans and the Demon Clan. The Demon Clan are humanity's enemies. With the Demon King at their apex, they've built their own nation and are now aggressively invading human territory. So Mikado, as the head of the Human Alliance, began calling on each nation to summon heroes. Only royal women have the ability to summon heroes, in other words, me. Each country summons their own heroes, cultivates them, and then combines them into a hero army to fight the Demon King's forces. Impressive plan, isn't it? I was baffled. So this is a quantity over quality approach to hero development? The princess began rallying us. "You must become warriors worthy of representing the kingdom of Raijinkuzen and bring down the Demon King." At this, Ryuto asked the question everyone always asks. "Your Highness, is there any way for us to return to our original world?" "There's no way back," the princess said plainly. "You have the honor of becoming proud warriors of the kingdom of Raijin-Kuzen. You should be grateful. I was speechless. Could you maybe take a page from the kingdom of Hagen's customer service handbook? The king then gestured for a stone to be brought forward. This can identify the divine protection each hero has been granted. So everyone stepped up one by one to touch it. Ryudo's protection was break the limit. AOI received barrier magic. Tamaki received magical affinity. And the protection I received in this world was the ability of detection. The king looked a little bewildered. It seems all four of you received divine protection. Afterward, everyone went through physical and magical aptitude tests. The results showed Ryudo demonstrated physical abilities far beyond normal human limits. In the magic test, AOI showed extraordinary results. Tamaki performed impressively as well. As for me, I had magic, but my results were, to put it kindly, underwhelming. No sign of growth potential. My physical ability seemed even lower than before the summoning. Worse than the girls, honestly. Pretty discouraging. Whatever. They're heroes. There's no point comparing myself to them. That evening, everyone wanted to talk things over, so we gathered in Ryuto's room. Tamaki, who had a bit of a tsundere streak, wasn't happy about my presence. Do we really need to include someone who can't even count as a fighting force? Not that I'm worried about him or anything. Ryudo pushed back. His detection is actually an extremely valuable ability, but since his combat strength is a bit lacking, I'd like Aoi to use her barrier to protect him. I looked around at the three of them, all good-looking people, the kind who seemed to have life figured out. But just as they were debating whether to leave this kingdom, I immediately cut in. What's wrong with staying here? It seems fine in every respect. Even as I said it, I held up a note. Someone's eavesdropping. Don't say anything suspicious. My detection ability had come in handy for the first time. It was more powerful than I expected. It could even pick up the presence of people or creatures on the other side of walls. Right now, someone was pressed up against the door of this room listening to us. We had already sent the maid away earlier, so whether it was the maid who had come back or someone else entirely, I couldn't say. With that thought, I signaled Aoi to cast a soundproofing barrier. As Aoi channeled her power, a green barrier quietly spread through the room. Tamaki said flatly, "But why would they be eavesdropping on us?" I explained that the power of summoned heroes is a latent threat to any kingdom. Eavesdropping was only natural. Weren't they the ones who summoned us? It's very possible this kingdom is in some kind of dire situation. No concrete proof, but my gut says they're in a financial crisis. For one, the king himself fidgets too much. He doesn't carry himself with composure. Second, the number of retainers and castle guards is far too small. Then there's the place they put us up. It's pretty sparse, more like soldier quarters. They wouldn't know the difference, but I can compare it to the first place I was summoned. It'd be wise to keep leaving this kingdom as a backup option. We can slip past the security net using detection. We should also look into ways to get back to our own world. Since we're essentially their lifeline, they'll never willingly let us go, so it's very likely they're hiding any method for us to return. Ryudo agreed, but said they didn't have enough strength or knowledge yet, so it was better to keep observing for now. At that moment, Tamaki suddenly closed in on me. "What's going on with your left eye? It's yellow." Just as I had no idea how to talk my way out of it, Ryudo came to my rescue. "Tamaki, everyone has things they don't want brought up. It's a little late to say this, but he's at that age. Just leave him alone." Ryudo must have thought I had some kind of 8th grade syndrome and was wearing colored contacts. Good enough, I'd take it. But what kind of power did these two magic eyes actually have? My stats all seemed fairly high, but I had no idea what the average was. So why did I score so poorly on the physical test? The skills I currently had were Vision Magic Eye, Array Magic Eye, Plunder, and Dark Magic, and then Detection. I recalled that the third time I was summoned as a humanoid monster, I had become a vampire of the Demon Clan. That's when I noticed a curse of the Sun God. During the day, my condition and stats would drop to 1/10. That explains it. That's why I've been exhausted and getting headaches during the day. And probably why dinner tasted off too. Garlic in the food maybe? Or maybe I was just drawn to the blood pulsing beneath their necks and skin. Because of detection, my attention was always fixed outward. I never paid attention to my own body. Let me take a proper look at my own skills then. First, detection, the ability to sense the presence of any living being within my range of awareness. Then weapon forging, using magical power to craft materials into weapons. My right eye was called Vision Magic Eye. It covered everything from long-distance sight to X-ray vision and night vision, essentially every ability related to seeing. The left eye's Array Magic Eye was a bit harder to understand. It could copy any magic circle I'd seen and store it within the eye, then deploy it in front of me at any time. I didn't fully grasp it yet. Better to study magic in this world first and figure it out from there. There were also skills like increased growth rate and halved experience requirement. But blood-sucking, that one I could understand. Draining a lethal amount of blood would turn the victim into a zombie. Injecting my own blood into a virgin would turn them into a vampire. Killing someone and marking them with my blood would bring them under my control as a thrall. And fully draining someone's blood dry would grant me access to their memories. Reading this, I genuinely felt like a monster. Combined with my plunder skill, I should be able to steal someone's abilities through blood-sucking. I also had to be significantly stronger at night. First things first, get used to this body. Then came the training on the second day. The night commander in charge of our physical instruction was Ish. The two girls, though talented in magic, still needed to learn the basics of physical combat. I glanced over, All three had stats far above normal humans. They could skip muscle training entirely, as expected, but the Knight Commander had no intention of letting me off the hook. Kiri, you need to train properly and reach the average level of a regular soldier. Being a vampire, I was unbearably drowsy during the day, barely alive under the sunlight. I'll be keeping a close eye on you. Fortunately, the overbearing crown princess chose that exact moment to appear. The second princess followed behind her, expression blank, wearing a doll-like hollow smile. The crown princess opened her mouth and was immediately insufferable. I, the princess, have come to observe your training in the midst of my very busy schedule. You should be grateful. Good afternoon, Lord Kiri. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am the second princess of the kingdom of Raijinku-san. I will be in charge of your instruction this afternoon. The afternoon was for cultural studies, taught one-on-one by the second princess, all because the insufferable crown princess had made it abundantly clear she wanted nothing to do with me. The very idea of the crown princess personally tutoring someone who isn't even a hero is absolutely absurd. One of these days, I'm going to give that woman a piece of my mind. That was my thought, though by then I was already nodding off during the second princess's lesson. Still, I managed to ask the question that had been nagging at me. If you're called the second princess, does that mean you're younger than the crown princess? No, I am older, but there are reasons for that. The first in line to inherit the throne is given the title of crown princess. I see. Based on what the second princess taught me, this kingdom of Raijinku-san appeared to have been founded by a female mage who led the team that defeated the previous demon king. Because the founder was a witch, a culture rooted in witch worship had taken deep hold. Many women were entrusted with positions of power, and by custom, the right of succession to the throne belonged to women. The king, who became the queen's husband, would be involved in governance and handle state affairs. The queen could strip the king of his royal authority through divorce. Before I knew it, evening had fallen. Tomorrow we would study magical theory, with practical training set to begin the day after. I borrowed an introductory magic book from the second princess and started reading through it. Truthfully, even I felt a little bad about sleeping through class, but the second princess hadn't shown the slightest irritation. Let me use this magic circle to experiment. I activated the array magic eye directly on the circle, and pulled every circle I'd seen into my eye. But when I tried to activate it, nothing happened at all. I couldn't even feel it being stored in my eye. I tried other magic circles too. Nothing. Completely useless. Right, there's the other eye. I could clearly recall it. In the world where I first received the magic eyes, the advanced hypnosis magic that disgusting doctor had used. If the magic circle came from the same world as the magic eye, then, the next second, I felt something entirely new. My instincts told me it had worked. Next, I needed to confirm whether it actually functioned in practice, so I rang the small golden bell to call the maid into the room. Miss Nara, I'd like to ask a small favor of you. As Nara approached, the magic circle in my eye activated. Immediately, her gaze went blank, and she answered every question I asked without hesitation. So the array magic eye could be used to cast advanced hypnosis magic. Could it be that the array magic eye could only store magic circles from the world where I first received it? No, wait, I've been summoned so many times. Everything I saw with the vision magic eye should still be retained. When I stored the summoning magic directly into the array magic eye and then opened the circle, sure enough it worked. With a burst of golden light, I appeared instantly in a distant forest. This was a combination technique, using the vision magic eye's long-range sight together with the array magic eye's transport circle, which meant I could now slip out whenever I wanted. Then let me spend this night, when I can operate at full strength, and test every ability I have. I immediately deployed Domination, one of the dark magic abilities, a special power that uses dark magical energy to control non-living matter. I could freely move any object I dominated and store it within my own shadow. Although I couldn't use a dominated object to affect other objects directly, I could release the domination and then it would interact with things normally. Next was shadow movement from the dark magic set. This skill let me conceal myself within my own shadow, and then travel freely through any shadows that were connected. Then there were what they called learning skills. With that thought, I activated weapon forging. The stone in my hand instantly became a long sword. Then I activated my vision magic eye and pulled up the Knight Commander's movements from earlier in the day, and began practicing following the mental image exactly. As I practiced over and over, a strange feeling slowly built. Looking up, I saw that my swordsmanship had reached level 1. It took some time, but the learning skill had definitely been worth it. I'd just keep leveling it up gradually from here. Just then I spotted a monster with glowing crimson eyes staring at me. I opened my vision magic eye and saw that this creature's stats were no joke. Apparently this feathered beast was something of a specialty of this kingdom. Even the blankets in our rooms were made from its feathers, but the people of this kingdom were actually hunting monsters this powerful? Thinking that, I scanned the other monsters in the area and found their stats all ranged between 500 and 600. Some of them even had stats higher than mine. Was it that the monsters in this forest were just absurdly strong, or was I just that weak? I could probably win one-on-one, but the risk of being surrounded made it not worth it. Better to back off for now. Meanwhile, inside the castle, the Knight Commander Ish had noticed the second princess. Knight Commander Ish, could I have a word? I hear that Lord Kiri and the others haven't been using any magic tools in their training. Since they'll need to use them eventually anyway, wouldn't it be better to teach them how sooner rather than later? Ishe explained that while magic tools could make them stronger, there was a risk of developing dependency. At this this stage, it was better to strip away that crutch and build up their body and mind from the ground up. The second princess wore her signature smile. For someone with the title of humanity's strongest, these things must seem trivial. A flicker of sadness crossed Isha's face. You don't smile like you used to. I believe I am smiling right now. Second princess, what do you think of the crown princess of Her Majesty the Queen? I think she is a capable, well-respected individual, well-suited to the throne. Do you truly believe that? Several days later, 2 weeks had passed since we arrived in this world, and the three heroes' training was going extremely well. Ryuto seemed to be a natural with the sword, and was pouring everything he had into swordsmanship. Tamaki was continuously training with the staff, which was originally a tool to assist in casting magic, but Tamaki was using it purely as a blunt weapon, and the results were devastating. Aoi was practicing archery, making herself capable in both offense and defense. Watching them, even I couldn't help but feel impressed. Their team had Ryuto as the dedicated close-range fighter, Tamaki who could deliver explosive long-range firepower while holding her own up close, and Aoi who was agile and capable of defense. Their balance was actually quite solid. As a side note, I had started proper physical training 3 days ago myself, though rather than swordsmanship, what I was learning was throwing and dagger techniques, along with stealth and occasionally trap detection and disarming. It seemed they were grooming me to be a scout. Still, when it came to my own skills, it was better to develop them on my own terms. I directed the dominated daggers to weave freely through the air, catch the right moment, and one strike would be all it took. Unfortunately, most of these abilities were nearly impossible to use or train during the day. The curse of Apollo was truly infuriating. I wondered if leveling up would make it disappear eventually. Either way, let me focus on raising my skill levels. With that thought, I activated stealth. As the feathered beast was busy gorging itself, I launched myself toward it at full speed. Using a net forged through weapon, forging and reinforced with dark magical energy, I snared the monster completely in an instant. Then I activated the Array Magic Eyes hypnosis on it. As a light flickered in the beast's eyes, it fell entirely under my control, but I didn't hesitate. I killed it in one clean strike. Turning it into a non-living object meant I could absorb it into my shadow. Also, draining a lethal amount of blood was another way to level up, something to look forward to. The stat boost from blood sucking. That's when I noticed a green platypus-like monster nearby. Ugly, sure, and not exactly appetizing looking, but I'm not one to be picky. So I hunted as best I could until the first light of dawn, then used the transport circle to get back to my room. That was my nightly routine lately. Every morning, Nara would come to wake me up, except when absolutely necessary or when I was heading out. I rarely used hypnosis on her. Over these 2 weeks, I had gathered all kinds of information about the kingdom of Raijin-kusen. The current queen had long been unable to conceive, and this kingdom was fundamentally built around female monarchs. Queens bore daughters and passed the throne to them to keep the kingdom going, but the royal family had also suffered frequent deaths from illness. Fearing the bloodline would die out, the kingdom decided to have a noblewoman from a distant branch of the royal family marry the king as a consort, and she bore him a child. That child was Arya. The name Arya meant heir to the throne. She was diligent, upright, and respected by all, up until the age of 7. That year, a daughter was born to the king and the queen. She was given the name Beloved. That was Amanda. The queen lavished her affection on this long-awaited daughter who had inherited her magical power. From that point on, Arya was no longer given a royal education. The moment Amanda turned 7, she was immediately named Crown Princess. The name Arya quickly lost all meaning. With no one left to take interest in her, Arya had no prospects for marriage either. Abandoned by the queen and left to exist within the castle like a gilded cage, she lived like a doll, going through the motions. I watched her quietly, not being expected of anything. That felt familiar to me too. At that moment, the second Princess Arya softly called me back to attention. Knowledge is essential for survival. Sleeping through class is a poor trade. I understand you're currently training in physical techniques, scouting, and stealth. It's a shame you have almost no talent for magic, but you do have real ability in those areas, don't you? That got me thinking. I genuinely couldn't use magic in this world at all. Even ordinary people here could use at least a little magic, so not being able to use any was genuinely unusual. Seeing my lack of concern, Arya offered some encouragement. You can become stronger, you just need to try harder. Please, come with me. Arya led me into a deep underground chamber. Then a large door was slowly pushed open. Classroom sessions are on hold. We'll use this room today. When it comes to the reality of being called a hero, yet being told you're weak, how do you actually feel about that? Aren't you ashamed? Arya's sudden change in expression caught me off guard. The second princess, perhaps shaped by past hardship, had suppressed her emotions so thoroughly that people called her the doll princess. But right now, every feeling was written plainly across her face. At this rate, you'll be expelled from the castle, because the queen has said she has no obligation to house someone who doesn't even try. I remained unfazed. I still felt detection would be useful when it mattered. On that point, I do think the evaluation is unfair, but the fact that you haven't been putting in effort is real too. You were granted divine protection. Put in at least a little more effort. That made me realize I probably did seem lazy in her eyes, though I was actually pushing myself at night. I sighed and explained, I'm already doing everything I can at this level. I'm not one of the 3 chosen heroes. I don't have the same natural talent for learning that you do. Just as I was trying to figure out how to excuse myself, the second princess wound up and kicked me with full force. The blow left me completely stunned. I saw Arya's expression turn dark. Unlike me, you haven't been driven into a corner. Once you're exiled, the monsters will kill you. Even if it's ugly, just keep living. The one speaking to me now wasn't the doll princess, voice. It was a woman of genuine dignity. You still have so many chances to change things. Stop coasting. Pull yourself together. At that, I let out a genuine laugh. You're a remarkable person, you know that? I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be this strong inside. Don't worry, my will to survive is 100 times stronger than anyone else's, just like yours. Those words made the second princess realize she might have made an assumption. Maybe the one looking down on others had been her all along. You seem quite formidable right now, but the risk of being exiled hasn't changed. I'll find a way. Back in my room, I fell into my own quiet worry. I didn't want to be expelled. I still had intelligence to gather, but to stay, I had to make them recognize the value of detection. So after training ended, I called out to Knight Commander Isekai. But this, she admitted, would be difficult. Not because she looked down on my divine protection, but because she didn't carry much weight in front of the queen. How about joining the knights? She proposed. Your current abilities can only really shine in actual combat. Being part of the knights would give you a place to prove your worth. If you serve the kingdom as a soldier rather than as an appendage of the heroes, it might be possible to stop your expulsion. But for me, joining the knights was essentially giving up freedom. The trade-off felt uncertain, so I gave a deep bow. While I'm genuinely grateful for the offer, I can't decide right away. I understand, she said. Then come to me when you have no other options left. Does that mean when I'm exiled? Igiana's expression was unreadable. Perhaps. A few days later, word came that heroes from a neighboring country would be visiting, and I still felt sluggish as ever. The second princess explained matter-of-factly that a welcoming banquet would be held tomorrow, and since it was a rest day, both training and lessons would be cancelled. The reason you weren't informed was probably because the sleepyhead wasn't on the guest list. I was mildly annoyed, but being left out wasn't exactly a bad thing. The next day, the palace was buzzing, fireworks exploding for the welcome celebration. I muttered to myself at the noise outside, wasn't this kingdom in a financial crisis? Besides, with this much commotion, one extra person in the crowd would go completely unnoticed. That said, if I actually showed up, someone would have to explain the unusual situation of me getting swept up in a hero summoning, which would prompt someone to form an investigation committee. If it got to that point, things would get very troublesome. While it was irritating watching everyone else enjoy themselves, I might as well see what they were up to. I activated the vision magic eye. Oh? Even the instructor had dressed up for the occasion. There was that hollow smile again. The food laid out on the tables was extravagant. This matched the information I'd gathered from Miss Nara. According to what I'd learned through hypnosis, this banquet appeared to be a major cause of the economic crisis. The queen was abnormally fixated on flaunting the kingdom's wealth to other nations, and even dismissed the king's attempts to advise her otherwise. So those people with Ryuto and the others, those must be the heroes from the other country? 3 of them as well. That one looks a little brooding. Might actually be good friend material, and that blonde one seems to be making a scene. I activated the vision magic eye and read his lips. Get Kiri out here right now. I'm challenging that guy to a duel. Reluctantly, I made my appearance. So, why do you want to duel? I need to prove to the goddess that you're not worthy. Don't play dumb. The white space? That place. I was still confused. And what does that have to do with the duel? I proposed to her. The goddess said she'd consider it if I beat you. After listening to all that, I had a pretty clear picture of what was going on. In other words, that goddess had gone and dumped her mess on me. But Ryuto and the others looked completely lost. Don't they know about that place? So they were summoned differently from me. I decided to wrap things up. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but if it's a duel you want, sure. The blonde guy grinned with smug satisfaction. That's more like it. But I get to set the terms of the fight, I cut in. My divine protection has no combat ability whatsoever, and unlike the other heroes, I don't have a powerful physique. So a straight one-on-one fight is already a losing battle from the start. If you're the kind of hero who just gangs up on someone weaker when the odds are already in your favor, then that's a different story. The riled-up blonde took the bait exactly as expected. Whatever the challenge is, I'll meet it. Alright then. Somewhere near this royal capital there should be a labyrinth used for night training. Whoever defeats the boss of the first floor first wins. Hearing it was only that much, the blonde readily agreed. Ryuto leaned over to me, concerned. Even if your abilities are suited for scouting, I don't think you can actually beat the boss with those. It doesn't matter. I have my own plan. After we made the bet and the duel played out, the queen's voice was glacially cold. So you're Kiri. What was that disgrace in the labyrinth? I hear you changed the terms of the duel yourself, then lost by a humiliating margin. As Her Majesty says, the man is simply too strong. He cut through the enemies with exceptional swordsmanship. Even the first floor boss was likely dispatched with ease. But compared to his reckless approach, I had used detection to completely avoid every enemy, every trap, and the boss entirely. The queen was furious. Regardless of anything else, you came back defeated today. In light of your useless performance thus far, I allowed you leniency out of respect for the Knight Commander and my husband, and this is what you've brought to our kingdom. We can no longer continue supporting you. Kiri, I am exiling you from this kingdom. At that, I simply smiled. Just a moment, Your Majesty. I have an objection. You said I brought harm to the kingdom. What harm, specifically? I did lose that fight, yes, but what that fight was wagered on was a matter of personal pride. Winning it would have made me worthy of a certain woman, nothing more. Beyond that, I am not actually a hero. I am someone whose identity has never been disclosed to any other nation. In terms of the kingdom of Raijin-Kusen, or Your Majesty the Queen, I am not a figure who could damage your reputation. What happened today amounts to nothing more than a personal squabble. Beyond that, I didn't do nothing in the labyrinth. At my signal, soldiers brought in 2 large burlap sacks, packed full of gleaming gold coins. The queen queen and princess both froze at the sight. I explained that these were treasures brought back from the labyrinth's first floor, since winning through combat was never an option for me. Using detection to locate these treasures was the easiest thing in the world. The queen looked thoroughly satisfied, and I had proven my worth. Not only did I pocket the money, but I sent those other heroes home in good spirits. With the exile issue settled, I was back to hunting at night as usual. Though I had more time to move around now, I was getting a little tired of always chasing those feathered beasts. That's when I noticed something off about the layout of the forest. Hard to tell with all the trees in the way, but detection made it obvious something was wrong. I activated Vision Magic Eye to get a closer look. There was a barrier. Let me go in and see what this is all about. Besides, if things got dangerous, I could always use the transport circle to escape. Little did I know, a massive wolf was gleaming with a pale blue light under the moonlight. The moment I stepped into that territory, a pack of gray wolves lunged at me all at once. I dodged instantly. Gray wolves, huh? First time I'd run into a mob of monsters. Not taking any chances, I immediately deployed the black thread net. Even a single wolf had formidable combat power. After a prolonged struggle, I came out with some injuries, but I had subdued every last wolf. More experience than hunting those feathered beasts. To be safe, I'll drain them first before moving on. Suddenly, a gust of wind ran through the air and sent a chill down my spine. Oh great, that kind of ominous atmosphere could only mean a boss was about to show up. Just as I was about to leave, the massive wolf came charging straight at me. The sheer force of the impact tore my arm apart. No time to react, I was hurled through the air. Damn, what just happened? The wolf-type phantom beast Fenrir, radiating a crystalline shimmer, fixed its gaze on me with cold disdain. A phantom beast, not a regular monster? Wasn't this the kind of boss that only showed up in the mid-game? Hiding in my shadow wasn't a good idea either. If it just waited me out, I was done. Before I could even think, Fenrir was already hurtling toward me at lightning speed. I leapt aside and barely got clear. Looking at the wings that had suddenly sprouted from my back, I realized this must be an undeveloped vampire ability. Why have you come here? Fenrir spoke. Fair enough for a phantom beast to talk, I suppose. You ask what I'm after, call it getting lost. Impossible. This place is shielded by an illusion. No one should be able to enter so easily. I sensed the illusion and got curious. Places like this don't normally have illusions cast over them. Then you're an intruder, and you've killed my kin. I cannot allow you to leave here alive. From the way you're talking, this seems like a pretty important place, Fenrir said flatly. You're going to die here anyway. This is where the witch and our kind forged our covenant. We guard this land as we swore to do, eliminating any creature we deem a threat, and intruders like you are no exception. Stop struggling, it'll be a quicker death, otherwise the next thing to go is your left arm. The next second, Fenrir was startled to find my right arm had already regenerated. A vampire's healing ability was extraordinary. Damn, you're not an ordinary human. All the more reason I can't let you go. Against Fenrir's lightning-fast speed, the only way I could dodge was by relying on Vision Magic Eye. But at this rate, there was no chance of escaping. Even if I tried to use my wings to flee, I couldn't get high enough. I immediately tried gliding into the forest to escape. That's when countless blue shards came raining down on me. Fenrir's attack launched through its crystals. Damn, that actually hurt, and there wasn't even a moment to catch my breath. Fenrir's attacks kept coming, one after another. With an assault this relentless, there was no way I could pull off the hypnosis magic. While I was searching for a way to break through, I hadn't even noticed I was about to burst out of the forest. The open terrain left me with nowhere to hide, struck again by Fenrir's lightning-charged spike. Just as the massive wolf's jaws were about to end me, I summoned a volley of wooden spikes from the dark space, but they didn't seem to land on the agile phantom beast. It was my most carefully prepared move, and clearly it hadn't changed the tide of battle. Fenrir still had me completely in its sights. I wanted nothing more than to use the transport and get out, but I had just used the Array Magic Eye's hypnosis magic moments ago. To use it again now, I'd need to recopy that magic circle first, and that would take a little time. Without hesitating, I forged the wooden spikes into weapons and drove them toward Fenrir using dark magic, but it had absolutely no effect on the phantom beast. That hide is unbelievable. I dodged Fenrir's attacks as best I could and drove the daggers toward it once more, completely pointless. That level of attack doesn't do a thing to me. Then another barrage of razor spikes came flying at me. Gritting through it, I deployed the black thread net again, using the trees as anchor points to tightly bind Fenrir. Just as I thought I'd bought myself a few seconds to escape, the surrounding trees snapped in half under the sheer force. Every thread of the net was ripped apart. Damn, I couldn't even scratch it. If it's come down to this, there's only one option left. I dodged the attacks with everything I had while gripping the black threads, looping them around the trees from memory over and over, then launched myself high into the air. The massive transport magic circle was captured whole by my Array Magic Eye in an instant. Array Magic Eye. Transport. To Fenrir's shock, I vanished without a trace, but I hadn't planned to just cut and run. Using the transport circle, I appeared directly behind Fenrir. Let me at least leave you with a parting gift. Catching it completely off guard, I drove my blade straight into the phantom beast's eye. Getting pushed around the whole fight just wasn't my style. Fenrir, robbed of its sight, erupted in fury. You dare wound my eye? I dodged the next attack and jumped into the trees, but it immediately locked onto me through its keen sense of smell and came charging again. I had no interest in dragging this out any further. I opened the transport circle and made my exit, leaving leaving Fenrir behind, roaring in helpless rage. Next time, I will kill you. I made it back home covered in wounds from head to toe. Forget killing it, just managing to deal any damage at all had left me completely spent. Next time, I was going to pay it back in full. From that day on, I started preparing new equipment. I slipped into the 5th armory and quietly took a few metal objects, along with some things that looked like they could work as materials. On top of that, I had also collected a tuft of Fenrir's fur as insurance. Turns out those hairs could harden or compress in response to force, one of Fenrir's defensive mechanisms. If its entire body was covered in that, no wonder attacks were nearly useless. Then let me see what kind of weapon I can forge from this creature's fur. As weapon forging activated, black silk threads floated up into the air. This was Gleipnir, a material that could not be torn no matter how much force was applied, and could be crystallized by infusing it with magical energy. Gleipnir was the device from mythology used to capture Fenrir, so it shouldn't be able to break free from this either. With that in mind, I wove the threads directly into a pair of gloves. Adjusting part of the crystallization to make it glow made deploying magic circles far more convenient. If I'm going to make it, I might as well make a full set. Perfect. Now it was time for revenge. That night, as a tremendous roar echoed through the forest, Fenrir noticed something was off. It's been about a day, hasn't it? Fenrir snarled in fury. You never learn, do you? How dare you set foot in this territory again? Watching it charge at me without a second thought. I provoked. Those eyes of yours are quite striking, Fenrir. Though Fenrir's vision was impaired, its attacks were still devastatingly accurate. This is your second intrusion. I will not let you leave alive this time. It cared more about the trespassing than its own injured eye. That motivation wasn't going to waver at all. A drive to protect one's territory isn't a bad thing. But Fenrir, it only makes me want to kill you more. As Fenrir launched itself at me again, I released the gray wolves I had killed the night before. The wolves instantly went for Fenrir, biting and tearing. How's that? I taunted again. Even without your sight, you can smell them. You know these are your own kin, don't you? Damn you. What have you done to my kind? They were too useful to pass up, so I made them my thralls. Fenrir exploded with rage. A wave of blue energy sent me flying. While I kept dodging and deflecting the onslaught, I continued to provoke it relentlessly. Just as I was about to be torn to shreds, I triggered the transport and slipped away. Fenrir tracked my position through scent alone. Without hesitation, it launched itself into the air. But that was exactly the moment I had been waiting for. A dense web of Gleipnir threads caught Fenrir mid-leap and stopped it cold. All that time I'd been taunting it. I had been quietly laying the trap. You can't escape now, Fenrir. Constrict. Gleipnir. Countless threads dropped from the sky at once. With a thunderous crash, Fenrir was bound completely, unable to move. Even its desperate struggling was useless. Save your strength. These threads are made from your own fur. They carry your own scent. Took you a while to realize, didn't it? Goodbye, Fenrir. With that, I pulled the threads in my hands tight. Fenrir's final conscious thought grew hazy. So this is the end. And the Covenant too. The battle was finally over. In that one fight alone, I leveled up 5 times and gained several new skills on top of that. King's Vessel. What was that supposed to mean? Just then, several gray wolves called out to me. Master. The wolves could talk now. This must be the King's Vessel ability at work. After all, thralls counted as subordinates. One of the gray wolves slowly spoke. Would you allow our former master to become your thrall as we are? Our former master gave everything for this land and always fought to protect us all. We wish for it to join our ranks as your thrall as well. I had no reason to refuse. It was nothing but a gain for me. Cut to the banquet the next day. Ryuto was the first to speak. I get the feeling the crown princess and the second princess don't exactly get along. The second princess is a bit too cold, but they don't seem to actually dislike each other. The crown princess sometimes sneaks glances at the second princess. So I'd like to ask Kiri to help patch things up between them, Ryuto said. Hold on, why come to me for something like this? Besides, the crown princess would never listen to a word I say. It's fine, Ryuto said with total confidence. If I'm the one asking her, she'll agree. And why is that? Isn't it obvious? The crown princess is completely head over heels for me. Everyone fell silent at that. There's a reward involved, Ryuto added. If it works, I'll ask the crown princess to give you a week off. That was more than generous enough. So I knocked on the crown princess's door. I heard it from a commoner. Ryuto, please come in right away. The moment the door opened, already putting on airs like this, I really wanted to turn around and leave. I am graciously allowing you to speak with me. You should thank me. I glanced around. The room was lavishly decorated, but completely without any cohesion. Are all of these from your own taste? I asked. Of course not. Those are gifts from Mother and various dignitaries from other nations. Royalty doesn't go out and buy things themselves. I just wanted to get this over with. Speaking of the second princess, I heard you've been troubled by your difficult relationship with her. Why would I ever be troubled over her? The crown princess insisted, keeping up her stubborn front. This conversation was going nowhere. Don't you want to make things right with her? I said, letting my irritation show. That's none of a commoner's business. Left with no choice, I pulled out my secret weapon. Ryuto asked me to play mediator specifically so you two could patch things up. But if that's how you feel, there's nothing I can do. If he knew you had no intention of doing anything about it, the one who went out of his way to set this up would be pretty hurt. Wait. I was just getting to it. You're so impatient. The crown princess began to open up. When we were small, things between us were different from now. We were much closer than we are today. She was smart and always willing to play with me. Wherever she went, I wanted to follow. But somewhere along the way, she started keeping her distance from me. When I turned 7, I became crown princess, and the right of succession passed to me. And I was told she wasn't actually Mother's biological daughter. From that point on, the distance between us became something enormous. After After that, I lived every day under strict schooling to prepare me to become queen. Through all of that, I came to realize just how exceptional and gentle my sister truly was. I always thought, if only she were still by my side, but the adults around me wouldn't allow that, and so this great divide formed between us. That's all I have to say. Listening to the princess's honest words, I sat and thought. All that arrogance, it had been shaped by the adults around her. The incoherent, mismatched decor of this room told the same story. Not a single thing in it was truly hers. Everything, including her own personality, had been handed to her by someone else. The only way she could hold on to herself was by hiding behind her title and putting on a performance. "Hey, don't just go quiet on me," the princess said irritably. "I said all of that. I'm not completely unwilling to take advice. Then just say what you said right now. Let me call you sister. I can't say something like that. Besides, who knows what the maids in attendance would make of it." I couldn't help but point out, in this kingdom, are the maids more powerful than the crown princess? The one who decides how you act has always been the crown princess herself. She wavered a little at that, but saying something like that could make things difficult for her. "The second princess isn't as fragile as you think." All right. I'm not completely opposed to taking your suggestion. Thank me for it." With that settled, I passed the news along to Miss Nara. As the second princess's maid, her reaction was lukewarm. "I don't personally agree, but I'll let the princess know." But the very next morning, she brought back a message from the second princess. "I'm told today's lesson will be quite different from the usual, a special class." And so the two of them took me down into the town at the base of the castle. The sunlight was already draining the life out of me. "We're having class out here?" the princess explained. "Coming into town to observe prices and get a feel for daily life is an important form of social learning." Though in truth, it was the princess who had come out to buy a gift. The crown princess had said royalty didn't buy things themselves, but the second princess was another matter. Arya looked from one thing to another, a little uncertain. "Kiri, which one of these do you think is better?" "Either one suits you well. It's not for me," Nara explained. The second princess was choosing a birthday gift for the crown princess. After Nara passed along what I'd said the day before, Arya had gone bright red. "Tomorrow I'm going out to buy a birthday gift for my sister." As she kept asking for my opinion, I explained. "She seems especially used to receiving things others have chosen for her, so I imagine it won't much matter what the gift is. What matters far more is who's giving it. Something you chose yourself. That's the best gift you can give. That's what I think." Hearing that, the crown princess's cheeks flushed, and her resolve visibly strengthened. Watching this unfold, Nara seemed genuinely moved. It makes me so happy to see her smile like that again. 5 days passed in a blink, and this was the princess's birthday ceremony. Even I had been specifically invited. The spread of food was as lavish as ever. The guests around us all looked like people of considerable standing. The crown princess made her entrance and was greeted with applause and cheers from the crowd. Ryudo's bow and warm wishes left the girl flushed with embarrassment. "Ryudo, I'm so glad." That's when I noticed a man speaking with the knight commander who carried an unusual kind of presence. I was curious who he was. The prime minister apparently, probably discussing security arrangements. I had no interest in any of that and started scanning the room for the second princess. The girl was hovering nervously in a corner, not daring to approach her sister. How is she this stiff? All she has to do is go up and talk to her own sister. At that, the girl's eyes found me. "Kiri, what do I even say? Don't blame me for this. You did kick me across the room once after all." With that, I gave her a firm push forward. Both sisters went crimson at once. Arya hid the gift she had carefully prepared behind her back, and a stir ran through the watching crowd. "Happy birthday." Arya held the gift out with sincere warmth. "I'd like to give you a gift today, Crown Princess." The Crown Princess's cheeks tinged pink as she slowly accepted the green box. Could you put it on right now?" So Arya carefully placed the hair ornament she had chosen on her sister's head, just as she had imagined. It suited her perfectly. The two sisters opened their hearts and shared a smile, and the distance between them finally began to close. The watching crowd broke into applause. At that, the Crown Princess leaned in with a quiet plea. "There's one more gift I want. Let me call you sister." "Of course. I'd love nothing more." The two embraced and wept, and the distance of years between them dissolved in an instant. "Well, that takes care of that," I thought with quiet relief. Even the king and queen were in tears. Ryudo came over to thank me. "Sorry for dumping this on you, but the way it turned out was more than I could have hoped for." She always seemed to be in pain. The fact that they could make up is just wonderful. Watching him, I couldn't help but think Ryudo was too much of a softie, though it was perfectly in character for him. "Kiri, I want to thank you." In the brief moment Arya was turning to express her gratitude, blood was already spraying across the great hall, followed by screams that curdled the air. Under Arya's horrified gaze, the king and queen's heads fell to the floor. The prime minister, the killer, wore a look of grim satisfaction. "Quiet down, all of you corrupt and rotting vermin." A queen who did nothing to address the poverty of this nation, who kept squandering resources without a thought for the people, and a spineless king who stood by and allowed all of it, both have fallen. The new king will be myself, Vittore, a man of royal blood, and the position of queen consort will be assumed by Gianna. Damn, the knight commander. Crown Princess Amanda stared at her parents' bodies and shattered completely. "Mother, have you lost your mind, Vittore?" She threw herself at him without a second thought, but the knight commander simply drew a single clean strike, and the girl's arm was severed. The three heroes erupted in panic. "Don't move, Ryuto." Gianna's voice carried a weight that needed no anger behind it. "If you take a single step, none of you will walk away from this either." Then the prime minister broke into a frenzied scream. "We are children of the witch, people of the the witch. To defy the witch's will and make the foolish decision to summon heroes is a sin that can only be atoned for with death. Returned to the witch, with a single swing of Aegiana's blade, the crown princess's life was extinguished. Arya screamed in horror. I barely managed to hold her back. If you make a sound, they'll find us. This coup was massive in scale. The entire Knight's Order had turned. Come, my people, let us deliver every fool in this hall to the witch for judgment. And with that, the indiscriminate slaughter began. The royal family was wiped out. Corruption, bribery, extravagance, and persecution. These people brought this nation to ruin alongside the royal family. Every last one of them deserved what was coming. I held Arya back with everything I had. Going out there now would only get you killed. Right now you only have two choices. Die here for nothing, or escape and keep living. Ryudo, confronted with the crown princess's body, was devastated beyond words. How can there be people who deserve to die? Still so young, hero, the prime minister said with a dry laugh. Every noble in this room is someone who had no right to exist. You simply don't understand the state this kingdom is in, Ryuto shouted back. Even so, killing people can't be the answer. The prime minister looked at him with tired exasperation. If you'd seen what I've seen, never mind. You'll come to understand this kingdom in time. Aegiana, restrain the heroes. The knight commander's killing intent radiated around her. Ryudo, don't make this any harder than it needs to be. Ryudo immediately activated his break the limit divine protection and brought a devastatingly powerful light sword crashing down at Aegiana. But it had no effect whatsoever on the woman dubbed humanity's strongest. A fine move, good power, and speed. The next second, she effortlessly subdued Ryudo as if it were nothing. Aoi and Tamaki held up a barrier on their end, pushing back against the soldiers' assault. Facing that many soldiers without weapons, their situation was far from hopeful. How are you planning to beat me, Ryudo? Give it up. Once I'm done with you, I still have the second princess to deal with. On our end, I was pressing Arya for a decision. Escape and live, or give up and die here. Are you going to give up again just like before? At those words, the image of her sister surfaced in Arya's mind. I'm not giving up. I'll keep living, she said firmly. I'll carry Amanda's share of life along with mine. I refuse to let someone else decide how I die. Then I'll run with you. Second princess. No, Arya. Meanwhile, in the Great Hall, after a fierce exchange, Ryuto's light sword was cut cleanly apart by the knight commander, followed by a kick that sent him flying across the room. Then a single decisive strike shattered Aoi's barrier, and in the next moment, both girls were pinned down by soldiers. On our side, I had started leading Arya through the escape. Using detection, we slipped around soldiers wherever we could, but with my daytime energy failing fast, I was already gasping for breath before long. After asking Arya whether she could use magic, I warned her. 3 soldiers will appear from this direction in about 30 seconds. There's no way around them. Blue magic gathered in Arya's hands. The soldiers had barely shown themselves before they were knocked to the ground. I had to admit, impressive. 3 at once. More than that. You look like you're really struggling. Are you all right? Arya asked with concern. I knew perfectly well I was exhausted, but enemies weren't going to wait for me to recover, so I kept pushing forward with Arya without slowing down. Taking stock of our situation, handling a handful of soldiers was barely manageable, but going up against the knight commander was basically impossible. I was in no state to fight right now, so I absolutely could not let her find us. After running for a while, I found a lightly guarded spot. That room appeared to be empty, but when we stepped inside the servants' quarters, the sight that met us was bodies strewn everywhere and blood-soaked walls. So this had been dealt with in advance. They even killed the servants. Thorough work. That's when Arya spotted the body of her maid, Nara. She held her close one last time, memories flooding back, and said her goodbye. But there was no time to grieve now. We needed to figure out how to get out. Cut to the castle dungeon. This is the kingdom's most secure prison. Without magic tools, there's nothing you can do to break out. I'd advise you to sit quietly. The straightforward Tamaki was already asking to have her handcuffs removed, but Ryudo had already worked it out. This coup was triggered by the summoning of heroes. The Hero Alliance won't stand by and do nothing, so they're using us as hostages to buy time, and if we take our own lives, it'll cause them serious trouble. At that, the knight commander regarded Ryudo with something close to admiration. Murderous on the outside, and yet your head stays completely clear. I recognize those eyes. Blaming yourself for what you didn't know, for your own powerlessness, and that painfully naive resolve, it's exactly the same look I had when I was young. You're still young. If you want to survive in this world, hold on to that feeling, and don't lose your cool judgment. If you can do that in the moments that count, you might at least be able to protect the people beside you. Let Tamaki and Aoi escape. With that, she prepared to regroup and go looking for the second princess. She can't escape on her own. Not a chance. Meanwhile, Arya was frantically mapping out an escape route. There's a hidden door that connects to the sewer. If we go that way, we can get out of the castle. Worth checking out then. Is it a passage only the royal family knows about? It should be an emergency escape route only the royal family can use. But honestly, I don't know if it still works. We don't have any other option right now. Arya said a quiet, sorrowful farewell to Nara. I'm so sorry I couldn't do anything for you. Thank you for everything. That's when detection picked up on more soldiers closing in. Things were starting to turn bad. Getting surrounded was just a matter of time. 12 in the left corridor, even more behind us. Moving forward wasn't an option either. Not 10 or 20 ahead. There was no breaking through that. The soldiers behind us were right on our heels. Turning back wasn't possible. The frustrating part was that they seemed to know about the hidden door too. The entrance was completely blocked. Not surprising amazing, really. People who kill without blinking don't leave loose ends. Probably tortured the information out of someone. But the two of us were completely cornered. Just as I was weighing whether to cut my losses and find a way out alone, Arya stood firm. I'm not giving up. Her voice had a fierce intensity to it. I'm not going down without a fight. I'll struggle until the very last second. Seeing that, I allowed myself a small smile. Her spirit wasn't broken. Good. I could still count on her. So I spoke up. Through detection, I've picked up what seems to be a group moving in our direction. Possibly a foreign military force. Can't confirm if it's royalty, but there's definitely an outside force making its way here. When will they arrive? Arya pressed. Roughly around sunset, so about 15 minutes from now. We might be rescued by then, but this fight is unavoidable either way. The odds of us holding out until sunset are maybe 50-50. So I grabbed Arya and we broke into a run, heading for the side with fewer soldiers. It didn't take long for them to spot us. It's the second princess, close in! Instantly, a volley of magic arrows came screaming toward us, and the princess threw up a magic barrier, pushing back against the onslaught. 15 minutes, right, Kiri? We're going to make it. But her magical power was already starting to falter, and arrows were cutting across her body. We tore through the arrow storm, running without stopping, while explosions thundered around us one after another. The soldiers were encircling us faster than I had anticipated. More soldiers about to appear ahead on the left. Can you hold them? Arya immediately threw up a magic barrier at my warning. It held the soldiers back for a brief moment, but they quickly cut through the obstruction and caught sight of us again. There was nowhere left to go. We had been driven into a dead end. The sun was still just barely above the horizon. We were surrounded on all sides. This was as far as we could go. 3 more minutes until backup arrives. Hold on until then. By now the pursuers were upon us, purple magic arrows pouring in without end, and Arya was throwing everything she had left into summoning barriers to hold them off. Wary of the several soldiers we had already taken down, the officer ordered his troops to fall back and fire from range. The next wave of arrows was already incoming, and Arya's magic was almost gone. She couldn't block all of them. All she could do was try to avoid anything fatal. The arrows kept coming, endless. When the smoke cleared, the second princess was riddled with wounds. Battered and bleeding, she asked when the reinforcements would arrive. But every word of that had been a lie. She turned to look, and I was already gone. Kiri, where are you? Arya called my name. Did he use me as bait and run? But he said he'd escape with me. Was the talk of reinforcements also a lie, just to keep me fighting? The soldiers hadn't let their guard down at all. They were readying the next shot to finish her off. Just as despair was closing in around her, the sun finally slipped below the horizon, and I appeared without a sound, dressed in black. Sorry to keep you waiting. From this moment on, it's my time. At the same moment, the darkness around us deepened. The massive silhouettes of great beasts swept over the soldiers above. My thrall Fenrir, take care of these men. As you command. The next second, the phantom beast Fenrir moved on the soldiers without a sound. In an instant, they were torn apart. Screams erupted from every direction. The darkness left them unable to cover each other's backs, and I appeared silently behind one soldier. You can shout all you want, but I don't think anyone's going to answer. Kiri, where did you come from? I didn't even glance at him, just tilted my head slightly. Done already, Fenrir? The phantom beast materialized quietly. Just this one left. Not a single one put up much of a fight. Compared to you, they're nothing. The soldier was trembling with terror by now. Yura, please spare me. I looked at him without a trace of sympathy. You killed plenty of people yourselves. Getting killed in return isn't strange at all, is it? The soldier had nothing left to say. Are you really Kiri? Who knows? The next second, the Wolf King's fangs tore him apart. With everything cleaned up, I turned my gaze to the girl barely clinging to life. She was using what little magic she had left to seal her wounds. Good thinking, but unfortunately the blood loss is too much. It's already too late. Arya stared straight at me. If you had used that power from the beginning, don't look at me like that. This power can only be used after sundown, so I had to hold on until this moment. The talk of reinforcements was for the same reason. If I just wanted to escape on my own, there was no need to do any of that. That's when I noticed the look in her eyes, full of hope and a fierce will to live. Even now, in a state like this, she hadn't given up on surviving. In that case, let's give it a try. So I spoke up slowly. No time to spare, so I'll ask directly. You're a virgin, right? If so, there's still a chance you can live. Though from that point on, you'll belong to me. In short, you'll become my servant. So, accept death as a human, or live on as something no longer human. Make your choice. The girl's breath was fading, but the conviction in her heart was to survive. No matter what it took, even if she had to sell her soul to the devil, she was going to live. That's the right answer, I said in approval. As you put it, compared to any god, I'm probably closer to a devil. The next second, I bit into the girl's neck. With the blood flowing in, she was reborn. Once it was done, I sent my thralls out to deal with the remaining soldiers outside the hall. And one more important thing, protect her until this woman wakes up. If we're going to do this, we might as well enjoy it. Cut to the castle. Vittore had already claimed the throne as the new king. Soldiers came in one after another with reports. Word was that the second princess had been completely surrounded. Vittore breathed a quiet sigh of relief. We're not far from the start of a proper nation now. Don't let our guard down at this stage. The hunger and sickness spreading through this kingdom, the abandoned orphans, my own inability to do anything about it made me just as guilty. The road to get here has been so long. Comrades who share the same cause, let us restore this country to what it should be. That was Vittore's thought, but he never noticed the blade in the shadows coming straight for him. The next second, blood sprayed and a head hit the floor. The soldiers had no time to react. The shock was total. Outside, the Knight Commander felt a bad premonition stir in her chest. Indifferent to the stunned soldiers around me, I raised Vittore's head. The plan is finished now. You have no reason left to fight. Bastard! The soldiers roared. Kill him! Avenge Lord Vitor! At that, an eager grin spread across my face. Not bad. The next moment, countless daggers materialized around me. If you want to do this, then let's make sure neither side has anything left standing. Hundreds of daggers shot toward the rebelling soldiers. I'm genuinely delighted. You chose to resist until the very end. The sharp sounds of screaming quickly caught the attention of the female knights. That's coming from the direction of the hall. Go check it out. But when they entered, all they found were bodies everywhere and me standing in a pool of blood. Seeing them arrive, I spoke slowly. If I recall, your Knight Commander Igiana's direct unit, the Battle Maidens. The Vice Captain was furious. Kiri, did you do all of this? I was unmoved. If I answer your question, will you take me on seriously? The rest of the unit was shaken, but Sophie was the first to come at me. A swift thrust drove her sword straight through my body. You're being pretty open about your emotions there. Did someone you care about just die? My condolences. The next second, I used a dagger to simultaneously pierce both her and myself. Unlike what the Vice Captain was expecting, a mutual kill. The wound in my body was already closing at a remarkable speed. She immediately called to her comrades and the battle began. This guy is extremely dangerous. He took Sophie's hit without any reaction. We don't know how he's still standing. We have to take him down. The next second, golden lightning crackled from the weapon in her hand. Vision Magic Eye told me immediately that was no ordinary magic tool. But the moment I moved to dodge, I shot up from the floor and locked my movement. The two of them worked together seamlessly. I could only summon daggers to deflect, but the magic tool's power was immense, and the Vice Captain's lightning dagger was closing in fast. With nowhere to dodge, I took it directly to the face. Just as she thought the fight was over, I smiled slightly. The magic tool is more troublesome than I expected. The next second, I severed my own left leg and launched into the air. Countless threads saturated with dark magic enveloped her in an instant. The other two fighters were subdued outright. I was really looking forward to seeing all four of you come at me together, but unfortunately, my schedule's a little full. Under the Vice Captain's stunned gaze, every one of my wounds closed over. I would have loved a one-on-one with you as a warm-up. Think of it as stretching before the real match against the Knight Commander. The Vice Captain scoffed. Talking about facing Commander Igiana? You really don't know what you're walking into. I took my time needling her. You're the best fighter among them, aren't you? You'd probably perform better on your own. So why bother teaming up? That set the Vice Captain off even more. Shut your mouth. Don't you dare insult my teammates. The lightning in her hand was devastatingly fast. It shattered my daggers with ease. But thanks to weapon forging, my weapons were practically inexhaustible. The more I fought her, the more I enjoyed it. Wonderful killing intent. Come at me exactly like that. Incredible, hit me harder. The next second, she sent me flying. She used the gap to try to free her teammates. Both of you, get up. We're going to avenge Elfer. The Battle Maidens are my home. I'm not alone. But the next second, the teammate who had broken free bit straight into her shoulder, while the other latched onto her thigh. I'm afraid they've already been turned into ghouls. That was a genuinely great fight just now. I had wanted to do a bit more sparring with you, but there's nothing to be done. I'll leave the four of you to have your fun from here. Kiri, come back here. Good. Now there's only one left. As my thralls gradually dealt with the remaining soldiers throughout the castle, Knight Commander Igiana's sense of unease grew stronger by the minute. A severed head on the side of the path confirmed what she feared. Her hands trembled as she gently lifted it. My instincts really do always come through, Lord Vitor. And there I was, spreading ink-black wings beneath the full moon, perched atop a high tower. The moon is beautiful tonight. Back in my world, that line is actually a famous way of confessing your feelings. That head was a gift for you. Igiana looked up and challenged me. Kiri, those are the Demon Clan's wings, aren't they? Only someone who has sold their soul to the Demon Clan in exchange for power would have those. To go that far, to throw away your dignity as a human, what is it you're living for? I genuinely didn't understand what she was getting at, and I wasn't in the mood to explain. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. I just want to stay alive. That's all there is to it. Igiana couldn't make sense of it. A reason that simple doesn't hold up. I fight for the sake of this country. To survive in this world, you need a powerful reason. Living for your family, living for revenge, anything will do. If I had properly guided you, maybe you wouldn't have ended up like this. I'm sorry, Kiri. She lowered her head slightly as she said it. I dropped down to her level. What a moving little speech. Treating the demon that killed the ringleader like a student you can still reach. But the coup has failed. You don't really have standing to talk about fighting for your country anymore. Even without Lord Vittore, we can still... Knight Commander Igiana. I cut her off before she could finish. I think you're under a misapprehension. In the next moment, the shadows around us filled with the corpses of soldiers. We're past the point where you can talk about we anymore. Here are the soldiers who hunted us down, the soldiers who massacred everyone in that hall, and every member of the Battle Maiden unit. There's no one left, except you. I've left them unable to resist, but at least their lives can be spared. All it costs is your sacrifice in exchange. I was being deliberate. I had read her concerns. She was worried this fight would end like a teacher pulling her punches against a student. Even as I was weighing whether to wait for her to surrender and then use mind control to force a proper fight, Knight Commander Igiana raised her longsword without any expression and drove it into the ground. A violent surge of holy energy exploded outward. This is a moment of silence, she said quietly, for the comrades who suffered humiliation before they died, and for the comrades who are about to die, take my life as the offering. I was confused. In other words, you're abandoning the Knights? Abandoning them? The Knights Order is the unit I poured my entire life into. I will kill every last one of them with my own hands. I was baffled. If that's the case, between the royal family and the soldiers, everyone's going to be gone. The kingdom can't function. The people are still here, Ijeona said firmly. Whether the nobles are corrupt, whether the soldiers are wiped out, whether the royal bloodline is severed, these are all minor details. As long as the people remain, I will fight for this country. That is the reason I exist. Hearing that, I smiled, with an edge to it, and decided to lay my cards on the table. My apologies, Commander. I underestimated you. I'm sorry for being so disrespectful until now. In a moment like this, lies and bluffing don't suit the occasion. So let me be straight with you. These people never had the chance to become vampires. They're completely beyond saving. I killed every one of your comrades. To them right now, you're nothing but food. Ijeona looked utterly composed. Kiri, you're beyond saving. You are my enemy. The next second, her longsword cleared its sheath. A crushing wave of pressure exploded. The puppet before her was cut in two in an instant. This is worse than I expected. So that sword is Ijeona's trump card. The ancient weapon? But those eyes blazing with killing intent, that's exactly what I was after. Knight Commander Ijeona, I'll use everything at my disposal to fight you. As a show of respect for my enemy, Ijeona showed no expression. But the moment a ghoul's hand was about to make contact with her, a cataclysmic explosion engulfed the whole area. You have plenty more of your comrades here. Let's see how long that kind of attack can keep going. The knight's unit came charging at her as well. The sight stirred a brief fleeting warmth in the knight commander's memory. But the next second, another merciless swing of the blade. Every strike was total destruction. One cut after another. Expressionless, she cut down every puppet that came at her. When it was done, she didn't even look up. What's wrong? Are you just going to watch? If you won't come to me, I'll come to you. I was genuinely shaken. I had expected this, but there wasn't even an opening to attack from behind. I recalled what Arya had told me about why Ijeona was so powerful. She was already extraordinary on her own, and when she was appointed as Knight Commander, the Queen granted her the ancient weapon, a sword that could sharpen its own edge through magical energy. Cut 2, the ghoul soldiers were no match at all. Even the daggers I launched with dark magic reinforcement were sliced into dust without effort. Damn, there has to be a limit to how sharp a sword can get. This thing can cut through literally anything. While I was still trying to figure things out, 2 magic circles came crashing toward me. I had no defense against a ranged attack like that. Both wings were shredded in an instant. You can't fly now, can you? What are you going to do? I used the daggers to slow my descent, and while she was busy handling the barrage, I started looking for an opening. The moment she adjusts her path, catch her off guard right there. So I used every bit of agility I had to weave past her attacks. Just when I thought I was about to land a hit, my forearm was cut clean off. I thought I had it. You really don't have any blind spots, do you? Ijeona remained completely expressionless. You're quite agile though. Maybe take up acrobatics. Not really my thing. Being able to deploy magic that quickly, was that the sword? I remembered that mithril weapons were particularly effective against the demon clan. Correct. You heard that from the second princess, didn't you? More studious than I'd have thought. I appreciate the compliment. The next second, my severed forearm fired off a dagger. Even that was blocked without any effort. You seem to keep pulling out new tricks one after another. But what comes next? I gave a slightly resigned sigh. In that case, can I ask you something? You react instantly to attacks coming from blind spots. I believe you're layering your magical energy in a thin sheet that covers yourself and the surrounding area, using it to sense threats from every direction. Am I right? You're using detection as your divine protection, aren't you? You guessed correctly, Kiri. If you have that ability, you shouldn't need mine at all. I wouldn't say that. Using this technique requires a continuous output of magical energy, which lets opponents sense my presence. So it's not well suited for scouting or covert movement, but the reaction speed it gives is exceptional. Call it a combat-oriented adaptation. Incidentally, I can also see that over there. Since I'd been found out, I pulled the Gleipnir threads tight and sent them toward her. Even the indestructible Gleipnir was cut apart without effort, but immediately after, sharp spikes came flying in. Fenrir was launching a sneak attack from a distance. I had Fenrir fire from beyond her detection range. I wasn't sure how effective it would be, but when the dust cleared, Ijeona was completely unharmed. Attacking from beyond my detection range is a clever idea, but from that distance, I sensed it before it even reached me. She immediately launched a magic attack at Fenrir. Don't get close. Keep the pressure on. Don't give her a moment to rest. So a relentless stream of spikes and daggers came raining toward Ijeona. She looked thoroughly unimpressed. Plenty of tricks, but how long can you keep it up? I also realized that trying to drain her magical energy this way was completely unrealistic. At this rate, both the ghouls and the daggers would run out first. What I knew of her capabilities, a layer of magical energy blanketing the area, used to detect enemies, combat ability capable of handling countless opponents at once, and an indestructible ancient weapon. The only way to actually land a hit might be to strike at extremely close range from outside her detection field. Then the path forward is right here, and with that I charged straight at Ijeona. Ijeona looked disdainful. So you've decided your only option is to throw yourself into melee range? Too reckless, Kiri. Did you think I didn't have defensive measures you haven't seen yet? Several sharp waves of sword energy spread out around her, and my remaining arm was cut off once more. So this is the end, isn't it, Kiri? Just as she raised her blade with full confidence to take my head, she didn't realize every bit of this had already played out in my head. The severed hand was suspended in the air by a thread, and from the shadow cast on the ground, a gray wolf shot out and bit through her ankle. Hit from two sides at once, Ijeona's jaw tightened. After a moment moment's consideration, she decided to deal with me, the unarmed one, first. But in the next moment, to her absolute disbelief, my severed arm was quietly growing back. You let your guard down. And rather than rushing to attack, I stayed just outside striking range. Then I activated the Array Magic Eyes hypnosis. The golden magic circle burst open before Igiana's eyes. But there was only the briefest pause. She raised her sword and cut the circle to pieces. I hadn't expected that sword could even destroy magic circles. Then she dispatched the wolf that had been attacking her from behind without breaking a sweat. Rather than alarmed, I felt a grin spreading across my face. What are you smiling about? Happy, obviously, aren't you? Who knows? Come on then, Igiana. Another volley of sharp spikes tore toward her. This was it, the final stretch. I gripped my dagger and rushed at her through the opening. Catching her off guard, I unleashed my hidden move. A brilliantly glowing magic circle materialized behind her in an instant. Just as she went to slash through it the same way as before, I appeared inside the circle and caught her completely off guard. Her slashing motion was exactly what I had anticipated. All I had to do now was lock down her arm before the blade reached me, and the fight would be over in one move. The plan worked. Igiana had no time to react before her arm was pinned in my grip. Then I opened my mouth wide and moved to drain her. Her situation was dire. The ankle that had been bitten through meant she couldn't move freely. Even if she wanted to bring the mithril sword around for a cut, the distance between us was too close to manage. But the next second, she deployed an attack array directly on her own arm. As the ancient weapon accelerated in her hand, that strike showed no mercy, straight for my head. As my head was cut from my shoulders, her arm was blackened by the explosion from the magic circle. On the other side, Fenrir lunged at her and was cut down by a single fierce swing. Farewell, Kiri. Standing in a pool of blood, she reflected. It had been years since she'd fought with everything she had. I can't fall yet. I still have to deal with the second princess. Suddenly, my severed head shot upward. A spike drove straight through her chest. As her heart kept pounding through it, my body launched high into the air and delivered a devastating kick that sent Igiana flying. From that impact alone, the Knight Commander had nothing left to fight with. Beneath the eerie moonlight, I slowly reached down and picked up my own head. Ah, a head's just an accessory apparently, no problem. This works fine. Igiana stared in disbelief. I cut off your head with mithril, and even that wasn't enough. I looked at her without particular interest. You all seem to use mithril against the demon clan. But that seems to be a rule of this world. It has no effect on me since I come from somewhere else. And I had already worked out ahead of time that the head probably wasn't critical for a vampire. The reason being, when I fought Fenrir, my spine took damage, but the rest of my body was completely fine. Igiana was barely breathing. I've lost. I just happen to be the one who's still standing. My experience in fights at this level is still lacking. Igiana, I'll take everything you have. Making you a thrall or a ghoul would be a waste of someone like you. Goodbye. With everything resolved, I made my way to the castle dungeon. You really are in rough shape, Ryudo. After the jab, I pulled out the magic tool that would open the prison. Wait, isn't that Kiri? I've been so worried. Are you all right? I immediately activated the hypnosis array. Worry about yourselves first. Bunch of pushovers. Ryudo panicked. Hey, what are you doing? Relax. I have no intention of hurting you. With that, I opened the door and let them out. Then I put Ryudo himself under the hypnosis as well. His body couldn't move, but his mind was still clear. The hypnosis array works, but it's still limited by the subject's own willpower, it seems. Doesn't matter. I'd like to ask you to help with some cleanup. Too much has happened to explain properly. Just consider me dead. So I took out a magic tool and handed it to Tamaki. Use this to burn the castle, inside and out, down to ash. Don't leave a single body behind. You seem to always hold back your power. Just let it burn freely. Aoi, put up a barrier so you don't get caught in it. Tamaki was fired up. An overwhelming presence radiated off her. In contrast, Ryudo was frantic from where he stood. Hold on, Tamaki, if you do that, everyone's going to die. It's fine, I'll do my best. In the wake of the fire that consumed everything, the kingdom would be reduced to ash before long. Last thing, Ryudo, I need you to pass along the truth. Cut to a girl standing in the flames, expression somewhere far away. Everything that had been warm and cruel about this kingdom turned to nothing. Her sister Amanda and Nara, and the leaders of a country she didn't know how to feel about, her father and her mother, and even the person she used to be. As all of it began to blur and fade, her eyes snapped open, and in that same moment, her golden hair had turned to black. It's over now, I said to Arya. For you, maybe, she replied. Have you finished cleaning everything up? When your blood entered this body, it brought along your knowledge and your thoughts as well. I just didn't expect the hair color to change too. I couldn't help but say, you survived something that nearly killed you, you're now my servant, and what you're thinking about is your hair? The girl explained, it's faint, but I feel like something about your words and thoughts have a kind of hold over me. So I offered my hand. She held hers out on instinct without thinking. But the next moment she sent me flying. Still, this feels about right. Isn't it fine this way? That color actually suits you unexpectedly well. Arya smiled slightly. You're right. It's not all loss. My life was saved. I've been given a measure of freedom. For those things, I'm genuinely grateful. And I also have a sense now of what I'm supposed to do. It seems if I grow stronger than you, the servant bond will be released. One day I'll surpass you and earn my freedom. Just watch. I smiled with quiet satisfaction. Not bad. If you can do it, go ahead and try. Now that the former princess has set herself a goal, let's head to the place I've been using as a base for now. So I brought Arya into the bounded space where Fenrir had lived. As a temporary base, it couldn't be better. The place had originally been a run-down little shack, but after I applied weapon forging it had turned into this. For 2 people to live in, it was naturally a bit cramped compared to a castle. There was no comparing the living conditions to the palace, and the immediate problem was that there was only 1 bed. The girl naturally drifted closer to me. I never really thought of myself as royalty to begin with. If there's only 1 bed, we can just share it. I'm alive because of you. I don't want to owe you anything. Right now, this is the only way I have to repay the debt. I've made up my mind. Then take off your clothes and let's see. Though I had no intention of taking advantage of the situation, vision, magic eye, and weapon forging, I custom-made a set of clothing for her on the spot. Here, take it. Being wrapped in a torn piece of fabric is exactly the kind of thing that leads to wild ideas. Put that on. I did say earlier that you'd belong to me, but I didn't mean it like that. Besides, I have my own standards for what I'm looking for. Trying to repay a debt by sharing a bed? You have unexpectedly high confidence in yourself. Arya's face flushed. Thank you for the clothes. I'll go change right now. She stepped outside, but her thoughts were still elsewhere. Why did I even think about doing that? All I wanted to do was show I was serious. Not only am I the only one who survived, I abandoned the entire country. Maybe I just wanted to be punished, but every word of that had reached my ears. So sleeping with me counts as punishment, does it? That startled her all over again. You're unexpectedly inconsiderate, you know that? That's not it. I still have a lot I haven't sorted through, but my gratitude toward you is completely sincere. I just can't seem to calm down. Even becoming something no longer human in order to survive, I have no regrets about that. Something clicked for me then. In that case, no time to waste. I'd like to run a test. Will you help me? Yes. Whatever it is, if it's something I can do, I'll do it. I managed to take various skills off the people in the castle, but some of them seem to be impossible to practice alone. It's a special kind of skill. All it takes is a light touch. And then followed a rather memorable night. By the next day, we had made our way into the forest. After becoming a vampire, Arya could soar freely through the sky. She seemed to have a natural gift for it. How about the outfit? Anything you'd want adjusted, I asked. No major complaints, easy to move in. What threw me off balance slightly was why she could fly in broad daylight. No curse of the sun god? Alright then, pull out the sword and see what happens. The next second, a blood-red blade came into view, radiating pure killing intent. I explained, that's the ancient weapon Ijana had been using. I reinforced it with dark magic. For now, let's just call it the Black Tachi. It's a fine weapon, but when I try to use it, nothing happens at all. I probably have no capacity to channel magical energy in this world. Arya tilted her head. So you can't use any magic tools? I openly admitted it, and handed the sword over to Arya. You should be able to use it freely in time. Arya grinned. Then maybe I'll end up stronger than you. Please, don't worry. I'll get stronger without relying on any magic tools. Though I'm not sure whether our respective power levels factor in equipment. But at any rate, unlike me, as a person of this world, you can use magic tools. While on the other hand, you can't level up or learn new skills the way I can. So let's see who ends up stronger. Though by any measure, I should have the edge. From the look of your fangs, you can now grow stronger through blood-sucking, just like me. As we talked, we began making plans to leave this place and head to another kingdom. That's when Fenrir popped out and gave the girl a start. Once I've recovered, you can ride on my back and travel in comfort. Arya was instantly charmed the moment she laid eyes on it. It looks so adorable right now, but it's actually a ferocious beast. Before long, Fenrir couldn't take the petting anymore and retreated into the shadows. Arya pouted. Little Fenrir, won't you come back out? At that, I reminded her. Tonight, we'd be setting off from here to another country. No particular reason. If we wanted to gather intelligence, we needed to see things firsthand somewhere else. Let's find a country that hasn't done a hero summoning. Arya pointed out that no such country existed anymore. 12 nations had reached an agreement, each one summoning 3 heroes. As excessive as that sounds, to put it another way, there were now 36 heroes in this world. I wasn't quite sure how to feel about that. Meanwhile, deep within the demon realm, after countless living sacrifices had been offered, and through the demon clan's relentless summoning ritual, Demon King Igunoa's eyes slowly opened. Cut to, Arya and I had already been in the unfamiliar kingdom of Rinsi for some time. It was a prosperous nation full of commercial energy and vitality. Arya was going by the alias Ari here. Having joined the Adventurers Guild and made a name for herself through her good deeds, she was well loved by everyone around her. At first, Arya had been taken aback by how lively and bustling the country was. True to the name Sacred Kingdom, there were holy clerics everywhere. The church was enormous. It gave the whole place the feel of a religious capital. So we registered at the local Adventurers Guild to earn some coin and started taking on jobs. I also used an alias, Giri, but I slept through the day, leaving all the work to Arya. Giri, I'm back, Arya called from outside, but the next second, I came flying out of the tavern. Help me, Ari. The white-haired little girl who'd sent me flying grinned with satisfaction. Impressive. You didn't pass out immediately after taking a hit from me. I am Fanadiku Rasehos, a sacred knight of the kingdom of Rinse. I have decided to take you as my disciple and reform you. With that, Fanadiku grabbed me and hauled me to my feet. Here's what had happened. After I joined the Adventurers Guild under the name Giri, I had spent every day drinking myself into the ground. As for money, I just kept putting it on Ari's tab. But Arya was the complete opposite. She knocked out guild commissions one after another. As her rank and reputation climbed, people began calling her Black Rose Ari. It was the black hair, the black dress, and the way she moved when taking down monsters, powerful and striking. Because of that, I had nothing to do during the day and never ran short of money, and gradually became a hopeless drunk. Everyone watching couldn't believe it. Why is Black Rose Ari following that guy around? She must be being blackmailed. Even the old man I drank with every day couldn't look the other way anymore. Why don't you go find some work? Don't let a woman support you. And starting to drink before noon, mind your own business, I shot back. This old man was the only one who'd drink with me. Clearly he had nothing to do either. But my drinking habits were so bad that he was the only one who'd sit with me, which made gathering any real information hopeless. That thought was still running through my head when a cleric happened to walk in. On a whim, ignoring the old man's attempts to stop me. Hey, how about joining us for a drink? She smiled with polished insincerity. Oh, you boys, drinking too much isn't good for you. That's when I noticed a silver emblem above her head. I can't quite make it out. Come a little closer. Fenadiku stepped back, and the next second kicked me across the room. The crowd mocked in unison. A drunk getting disciplined by a sacred knight. Serves him right, sitting there drinking all day. Give him a good beating, maybe it'll knock some sense into him. Fenadiku indicated she had every intention of doing exactly that. In the name of the gods, no wretch shall be abandoned. Then she turned to Arya. What's the matter? Oh, nothing. I was just wondering what you plan to do with him, Ari said. Fenadiku replied casually. He's just some nuisance from the guild who tried to hit on me, though he does seem to have a remarkable amount of willpower. Allow me to save him. Watching me get dragged away, the tavern erupted with joy. Miss Arya is finally free. Come join our party. Arya quickly handed off the food she was holding, then sprinted after me. Nobody could understand why Miss Arya followed that guy around. She must definitely be getting blackmailed. Meanwhile, I had just opened my eyes to find a palm headed straight for my face. Alright, I'll put you out of your misery right now. Just when I thought it was over, a green light enveloped me, and my head cleared considerably. Feeling better? You really shouldn't drink so much, you know? Excuse me, who exactly are you? I'm Fenadiku, Sacred Knight. Please call me Fenadiku, or Master. Then she grabbed my hand and dragged me off to a church. Arya had quietly followed and was looking a little put out. When did they start holding hands? They seem rather close. Is this just considered normal social behavior here? That woman is dangerous. Fenrir emerged from the shadows. I don't know if Master has noticed, but that woman carries a very strong scent of divine protection. Divine protection? You followed them because you sensed that too, didn't you? Stepping inside the church, Fenadiku couldn't help but admire it. This one's on the larger side. You're in luck. Then a row of stone statues came into view. These are statues of the chief god. Just do as I do and you'll be fine. Fingers pressed together, representing the chief god and the four goddesses. I still don't know why things turned out this way, but in my days I went along with it. Now that I think about it, though my name is Kiri, I don't think I've ever actually prayed for anything. Suddenly a strange feeling came over me, as if something was watching. Someone observing? No. It felt more like something was connecting us. Was this her doing? No. Even my detection couldn't pick it up. Not magic from this world, and not a physical phenomenon. It felt as if something was peering directly into my soul. Damn. Whatever you are, stop looking through me like that. But just then Fenadiku's voice broke through. You're taking this more seriously than I expected. Prayer really is something beautiful. It looks like your soul has already been cleansed. At that, I looked up at the massive statue of the chief god before me. The feeling of connection was gone, but the power behind it was something I couldn't shake. It seemed I'd be coming back here again. Meanwhile, in the realm of the gods, a golden-haired goddess spoke slowly. The connection was severed. The blue-haired girl beside her agreed. I can't believe a human could do something like that. Truly remarkable. A little while later, I knocked on the tavern door again. The old man, seeing me back, gave me a look of genuine surprise. You've got a completely different presence about you. Looks like you've been through something. As it turned out, Fenadiku had just taken me to a forest. Without a word of warning, she proceeded to beat me thoroughly and without mercy. Move faster! Here comes the next one. Against her relentless barrage, I didn't have a chance to retaliate. I recalled she'd introduced herself as a sacred knight. No wonder it hurt so much when she hit me. The attacks of a sacred knight carried the one weakness of a vampire, the light attribute. Seeing me dodge one of her strikes, Fenadiku grew even more energized. I could tell from the start your eyes were good. It's just that your body can't keep up yet. Get hit enough and your body will start to catch up. Keep pushing. Meanwhile, Arya, watching from behind, looked worried. Is it really alright not to help him? He's getting beaten black and blue. Fenrir said calmly. Master said not to intervene unless something unusual happens. Even in daylight, Master can escape at any time, but he hasn't run. Whatever he's doing, I imagine he has a good reason for it. Except the next second I broke into a full sprint. The old man listened to my whole account with a completely straight face. As I finished, I added, this really was a disaster of the highest order. That woman is a sacred knight, you said? The old man explained. Sacred knights hunt monsters and offer them to the chief god. They use magic tools and carry the light attribute. Personal talent matters, but tactics are the real key. Though the part about you not being able to use magic tools is beside the point here. I grinned. That's what I thought. Something was off. off. Did I ever tell you I can't use magic tools? But before I could finish, the sacred knight had already kicked the door in. There you are. Rested enough? Time to get back to training. I could only yell helplessly, "Old man, help me! Old man! Aren't we friends?" After that, the sessions that were called training but amounted to one-sided brutality continued. I knew that in the daytime, with nothing but my eyes to rely on, there was no way I could beat her. But at this rate, my body wasn't going to hold together long enough for me to come up with a counter strategy. So I asked Master if we could go to the church. She was delighted. She'd never expected me to ask to go back on my own. This is proof that the training is getting through to you, isn't it? Not only did this get me out of training, it also gave me a chance to investigate the church I was curious about. 2 birds, 1 stone. Since I had no particular attachment to the church and wasn't a believer, but the sense of being watched hadn't returned. If detection couldn't pick it up, it was likely something beyond what this world's power could detect. So I activated the analysis function of Vision Magic Eye. Not the congregation or anything they were wearing, not the walls, the floor, or the goddess statues. But then I noticed something unusual. A faint green light was continuously radiating from the hand of the goddess statue. After analyzing it, it turned out to be a sacred light stone, a medium for the goddess's power required in every church. So that's how it works. It creates a connection to the congregation through this stone. She's called a goddess, but it shouldn't be that one. Based on the statues, there seem to be 5 goddesses in total. It seems I really did manage to cut off this world's gods. Well, as far as reconnaissance goes, that's more than enough for now. That's when Fanadiku lit up with unmistakable excitement. Over there. That's Master Raven. He's the 4th captain of the Sacred Knights, and the hero of this entire city. 10 years ago, when the monsters went berserk here, he was the one who resolved the crisis and has been protecting the city ever since. A living legend. The girl was barely containing herself. I'm going to go say hello to Master Raven. Head back without me. I found myself genuinely curious about the man, and prepared to use analysis on him. He noticed something was wrong in an instant, which left me no choice but to look away. Given his reaction, he must have sensed something. Even using analysis carries a risk around this man. Raven spoke quietly. There's a scent. The scent of one of my own kind. Meanwhile, Arya was bored out of her mind on the other side. Kiri has been in training every single day since then. We haven't even spoken recently. Great. Fanadiku was swinging her warhammer at me again. Your reaction to magic tools has improved a bit. I appreciate that. The girl paused in thought, but just evading isn't going to cut it. Do you have a weapon you're comfortable with? My first instinct was to picture myself wielding dark magic in all its glory, but I answered simply, not really. Fanadiku's excitement switched back on immediately. That settles it then. Go out tomorrow and buy a weapon that feels right for you. There's no such thing as an adventurer who fights empty-handed. I also got a chance to meet with Master Raven, so tomorrow's a day off. Got it. So I made my way over to Arya. You've been staring at me for quite a while. Have you figured out how to handle me yet? The girl deflated. Not even close. Right, are you free tomorrow? Master Nun said I need to go get a weapon. I don't know the city very well. You probably have a better idea where to look. Arya perked up immediately. I don't have any commissions. Tomorrow is completely free. You really can't manage without me, can you? I don't know what to do with you. Let's get back to the inn and get ready then. Let's go. The next day at the market, Arya was in high spirits. Look at this. This looks delicious too. I felt obliged to remind her. We came here to buy a weapon today. It's fine. The weapon shop is right over here anyway. So we made our way to a shop that looked decent enough. The unfortunate part was that everything in it was magic tools. I suggested Arya pick up a weapon while we were at it. The ancient weapon was far too conspicuous. She needed something she could use day to day without drawing attention. The girl agreed. Something reasonably priced that didn't get in the way of movement would be ideal. And I spotted a short sword forged from mithril. High purity mithril that could also serve as a magic auxiliary tool. It looked perfect. As for the price, between my nighttime hunting earnings and what we had saved, it wasn't a problem. I've got nothing else to spend money on besides drinking anyway. Let me cover this one. Arya's cheeks went pink. But my problem remained. I couldn't find a single weapon in there that I could actually use. So we moved on to a second shop, a rather narrow little place. We were greeted by a white-haired old man. This shop works on commission. We craft one-of-a-kind weapons built to the customer's exact specifications. Can you make weapons that aren't magic tools as well? Of course. This shop will do everything in its power to meet the customer's expectations. In that case, let me place an order.